All right, and we are live. What's shaking, killers? Go on, Siegfried. Yeah, the Helium's AMA is also going on right now with the Sourceful folks, so I might have a light audience today, but that's fine. It's not like I require that Helium asks me before they schedule something, so they do something at the same time. The link is in the description. You can go and check it out. Yeah. It is down in the show notes. Let's see. We just got a couple things today. I thought we'd burn through this one. And if you guys have anything else, drop it in the comments and I'll address it. But otherwise, we can probably keep this one pretty short. So let's see. Big news this week is the whole Sourceful thing going on with Helium. Coindesk did talk about Helium in one of their articles. That's kind of a big deal. It's cool to see the mainstream crypto media paying more attention to DePIN. Obviously, that's not something new. It's just another cool step on the path. Joey Hiller who's usually on here, did a pretty cool interview over on Helium at Sensors Converge. Link is also in the description for that. Over in DIMO land, voting is live. So if you want to vote, I think you have till Sunday to vote on any of their governance proposals. They hit 100,000 connected vehicles yesterday, maybe. So that's kind of a cool thing to see. Let's see. And then they leveraged the hell out of Vitalik's tweet about not being enough open source auto stuff. They're like, oh yeah, DIMO. So it's just good to see those guys are hustling hard on the marketing side. Over on WeatherXM, we released a video on the HackFS winners. So pretty cool just to see what folks are doing with WeatherXM, with the Explorer, with some of the betting and gaming stuff, which is making it so you can see what's going on in real time. I think none of those things are, obviously, their hacks are super polished, but pretty cool to see how hackers and programmers and all the nerds are interacting with WeatherXM in particular and with the DePIN space in general. I know on my side, I'm certainly super interested in kind of sharpening up my pretty beginner nerd skills. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the show when we talk about the Monstra stuff. So let's see, INCA Threefold, their Discord is up and running. I think it's been up and running a couple weeks now, but just want to make sure you guys got a chance to see it. All the stuff, links all in the description on this. Their TF Grid Mainnet just upgraded to version 3.14. I've got a node running in my closet. It went off and went back on again, so super easy to see that going down. Yeah, there's nothing that I had to do. I was in their Telegram when it happened. I saw a lot of folks freaked out a little bit, but popped right back on. What's up, Derek? So it was kind of good to see that just work. And that is pretty much what I expect from those guys. Those guys are, long time kind of internet Rails builders. So I think they probably have more experience than anyone in all of DePIN when it comes to all this cloud infrastructure stuff. So cool to see them making progress. Over at Anyone, they migrated. They started this, I think, last week. We talked about it. Just want to make sure I hit it again. If you held ATOR tokens, you can migrate them over to Anyone tokens. Do it via their site. Link is in the description, but you should always check it yourself. I think what I've seen with Anyone is those guys have gotten pretty targeted for scams. So just make sure, double, triple, quadruple check that you're on the right Telegram. Start from their website and go to their Twitter, go to their Telegram, all that stuff. Super cool project, and there's nothing you can do once these, jackasses attack you or target you for spam. So it's not a ding on them at all, but just be aware there that if you're going to do your migration, do it on their site. Don't do it on anything else. And then KuCoin had also migrated anyone holding their stuff from ATOR over to Anyone. So yeah, cool to see there. Let's see. And that brings us to the Monstra stuff. So Monstra is in the back right now. It's over right there. It is the machine that I built. We talked about it before to do AI, LLM, image generation, blah, blah, blah stuff. I didn't know anything about it before. I spent the last week, I think, since last time we talked. Another thumbs down. I don't know why people are giving thumbs down. I wish you'd say in the comments like, hey, I think what you said here sucks, and then I can address it or not. But it may just be some jackass popping in. So let's see. So I tried Stable Diffusion directly on Monstra. I tried Ollama directly. That was, I think, the first thing that we had all done when Nos and Vortal and Rob were helping me on that stuff. And that went up and running. And then, man, I went through a bunch of different, trying a bunch of different stuff. So I did, Ubuntu 24.04, and that didn't seem to work for almost any of it natively. There's always all these kind of weird little things you'd have to change. So I went back to 22.04. But in between, I tried, what was it, Fedora Ubuntu Debian, like a ton of different OSs and a ton of different pieces, and just ended up settling back on what you would have probably told me to start with, which is just start with the version before the current version of Ubuntu, and everything will be built for that and it'll work fine. And it pretty much did. And that's not to say that nothing worked. It was just kind of a pain in the butt to get working, and a pain in the butt to get working, to get everything working together. And what I wanted for this first iteration, I may wipe it again, I may not. But what I wanted for this first iteration was the ability to go to 192.168. blah 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 on my local network and pull it up on a specific port. Like, there is my LLM, there is my image generation or stable diffusion, or there is X, Y, and Z. And so what I've settled on is AnythingLLM has been super easy also to load docs into and to organize those. OpenWebUI had a pretty good interface as well, but Anything's just a little bit better. And then EasyDiffusion, Vortal had recommended I try that. We tried VLLM, but that was command line only, and I don't have the sophistication for that. With ATOR, do you still have to purchase an NFT? So I don't think you have to. No, if you want one of the hardware pieces, Derek, you have to purchase an NFT, but you can just spin up a node either on your own software or on your own hardware or on the cloud. And the instructions should be, they were at educ.ator.io, so educator.io. I think they're going to be I'm pretty sure they'll be on the Anyone site now, and the link to Anyone is in the description. I think it's just anyone.io. Let me just double check that. Yeah, anyone.io. Let's see. So back to Monstra. So I've got AnythingLLM running on it for my LLM. So you can run whatever you want on that. I've got Ollama and a bunch of different models on there. And then EasyDiffusion is on there. And then I'm testing, I just put it on yesterday, ComfyUI. And I think that the takeaways on this stuff is, for me, as a kind of non-nerd or a transition nerd or bridge nerd or whatever you want to call it, is that this stuff is still pretty difficult. It's not quite there yet where your neighbor, your grandma can put it in. It's going to get there. I think by participating at this point in time, you should expect to be a little bit frustrated and that things don't exactly work, but they do work if you just keep banging your head against the wall. And I think one of the big takeaways for me just so far has been that prompt engineering on LLMs has been super easy for me. Words have always made a lot of sense to me, and I'm fine with writing stuff and rewriting stuff and making things, being very specific with the way I use verbiage for text prompts. But man, for images, I'm just way behind on that. So figuring out how you set up a prompt for images, there's I found at least one site, and I'm sure there's thousands, for like, here's how you write a prompt and here's how to write the best prompt possible, but I just haven't dove into that. That does seem pretty important. And then one of the cool things about putting ComfyUI on yesterday, as well as, they didn't get the X space up and running. That's weird for Helium, huh? One of the things on ComfyUI, just getting it up and running, was building the whole thread of it from like, here's where you start. Here's the first thing you need. Here's the, whatever it is, the model that you're going to load. And then here's the prompt. Here's the positive prompt. Here's the negative prompt. Here's the VOE, whatever that is. Here's like, and I still have to go through the rest of that course, but just like laying out the architecture of how you basically tell the computer what you want to see. So we've had some fun with that over the last week, but still, man, there's an awful lot to learn and to do with it. I am working on a top secret project that has nothing to do with, well, yeah, I guess it's got something to do with everything, but it's top secret. So it's kind of a fun thing, but I'll leave it at that. So I think that is most of the news that I've got. If you guys have anything, drop it in the comments and I'll hit it. Otherwise, I think we can probably make this one a really short little piece. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I saw in DePIN. I've had my head in Monstra, which is the AI computer, damn near the whole week. And man, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or what is it? No, it was over the weekend. I must have reinstalled, wiped the OS, I don't know, 10 times. It just, yeah. It was it was a frustrating and highly dense learning experience, I guess, the nicest way to say that. What else? I think if we step back and look at one of the things that I'm seeing with with LLMs and with this kind of AI GPU compute capacity that I've got in general is linking it to other things. What's up, Zim? You're in here, baby. Linking it to other things is probably where the great unlock happens, and that's just not quite there yet. And Zim has been pushing me towards that super hard, and I think that may be what ComfyUI ends up doing. And by linking it to different things, I think there's a couple layers to that. One of which is getting your text prompts correct, getting the right prompt to give you the right image generation, and then getting the right set of images to create a GIF if that's what you want to do. So kind of connecting LLMs to the image generation side, to the diffusion side. And then the other piece is, how do you connect that to a chatbot, right? Because I talked about this before, how do I connect it to a chatbot on the Paleotreats website or Gristleking or whatever? And I just haven't explored that enough yet, but dadgum, if it's as complicated as it's been so far to connect just stuff that seems like it should natively connect, I've trepidations about connecting everything else. I think that will change, and because the whole thing is changing so fast, I think in 6 months or less, we'll be seeing really easy kind of, Node-RED style, connect this thing to that thing pipeline. Thank you. Hey, I want this to connect to X, Y, and Z. I think one thing I'd like to learn a lot more about is I saw all of the AI influencer stuff. It's like, oh, how does that work? I would like to know, because my sense of it is that that may be total bullshit for most of it, 99% of it, but I bet 1% of it is not bullshit. I bet there's someone out there that's doing it, and I think it could be pretty interesting to understand all that stuff. So yeah, workers, transformers, like there's a whole new vocabulary here of understanding what you want and going from, as you walk down the sidewalk talking to your neighbor about like, oh, doing AI stuff, and they're like, oh, cool. Can you make a picture of me on a horse on Puerto Vallarta, running down the sand, or on Zihuatanejo or whatever it is, from that request to actually doing it. And it's like, the horse looks like a horse. It doesn't have an extra tail or an extra leg. The person looks like the person. The person is in the correct pose. The hair and the wind are flowing correctly. The sun's in the right place. Like all of those things are right. Getting from what's in my neighbor's head, and to be very transparent, no neighbor has asked me for a picture of them on a horse, running down the beach in Zihuatanejo. But to get from that to the thing that you want, I haven't been able to do it yet. I've seen tons and tons of tutorials on how to do it, and I think all that stuff is pretty interesting. But I also wonder, what does that get me once I've learned it? How do I apply that stuff? And maybe for me, it continues to be like a super interesting kind of hobby application. I have the intuition that it is going to be way more than a hobby application. This will be something that people will want to be applied to their projects for stuff I'm doing over at Goldhawks. But I'm certainly not there yet where I can kind of offer that as a service. I'm just figuring out myself. But been super cool to be a part of a group where everyone's like, yeah, just go try this, try that, do this next thing, see what happens here. Like, oh shit, that broke. And then just having this computer has been rad to just be able to like wipe the whole thing and start over. One cool thing that I've done, and this will seem super basic to those of you out there who've done a ton of this before, is that on that computer, there are 2 SSDs. So I've been loading the OS operating system, if I'm getting that right, on kind of the main one. And then on the other one, because all of these different AI, let's call them applications, maybe that's the right word, have huge files associated with them. Either it's a language model or it's what's called a checkpoint on the diffusion side. So when you want to make an image, there's a style of image to make. Let's say you want it cartoon, or you want it super realistic, or you want it anime or manga or whatever graphic novel. Each one of those, if you give Stable Diffusion a checkpoint, you're like, hey, I want, a monkey riding a flying saucer, but I want it to look like a cartoon, and you give it a checkpoint for cartoons, it will come out with something that is much closer to it. Those files are gigs, usually a couple, is it gigabytes? Gigabytes, GB. And I know Network Bits had corrected me on that a long time ago, and he'd taken the time to explain it to me, and I got it at the time, and I just forgot it. But big G, big B, huge files. And so I think the super cool thing I've been able to do that I thought was neat that I think is basic for you is I put all of those on the second SSD that's on there, which is a 2 terabyte, whatever card, so that each time I wipe it, I'm wiping out the OS, but I'm not wiping out all the data. And so I can keep all of the books that I've downloaded, all the PDFs, all of the models, all of the checkpoints, and don't have to re-download those. And that has been, yeah, kind of cool to be able to do that. So, all right, I think that's what's going on there. That's 15 minutes into this thing. You guys probably have to GB, big G, big V, gigabyte. Yeah. Hopefully the Helium folks have kicked off their Twitter AMA and you guys can crush over there. 𝐒𝐩𝐨𝐬𝐫𝐬𝐡𝐢𝐻. I'll have to look at that stuff again. I know that there's an important difference, but I can't say that I know what it is off the top of my head. So, ripping. All right, guys, I will catch you later. The chat is a little bit delayed, so if there's anything that you put in there that I signed off before, it's just not there for me yet. All right, I will see you guys next week. I'm going to get back into Monstra and figure this thing out. Rock and roll. I'm out.